This is the start of Unit 3. It's Energy and States of Matter. We started out with the lab that had to do with freezing water and then melting the ice. So we're going to do a little recap of that lab. In that lab, we had a graph that was collected that looked like this. Okay, so this was temperature. This was time. This could also be time in seconds. And we did degrees Celsius. Okay, now we want to look at this graph and break it into two parts. Our two parts are going to be, this is going to be part 1, and this is part 2. Okay, so we'll look at, we had a little dip in this that occurred at one time, and we will talk about that also. Okay, now if we look at this, part 1, this is when the water, so we had water here, was cooling. It was in the ice bath. As it was cooling, the temperature decreased quickly right here, and then we ended up with a plateau that was sort of jagged. This means heat was leaving during that part, the test tube, and we had a change in temperature. I'm going to use this symbol for change in temperature. Okay, so that's what was occurring during that part. So that means the kinetic energy, which has to do with temperature, was decreasing. Okay, so that was like, so we call this energy thermal because it's changing in the amount of kinetic energy, so it's energy thermal. So the next part of part 1 had to do with this part right here, this plateau. During this part, this is when heat was still leaving. The test tubes, and the particle attractions changed to a solid. So this causes particle attractions to form, and we get going from a liquid to a solid. We call this energy phase. That's where it's being stored now, as that heat is leaving there, and it's changing to a solid. This would be the freezing part. Okay, now this little segment right here, this is when it was frozen and then it even cooled more. So the ice cooled more here and it got below 0 degrees Celsius. This plateau for water should be occurring right at 0 degrees Celsius. And if we looked at all of our data, which we did, we were right around that mark. It ranged from a negative 0.1 to, I think, 0.8. So we were right around that 0 mark. Then, for the second part of it, when we took, this was out of the ice water bath, so this is when we removed the ice bath. This started to warm up, and then we got another plateau right here, and this is when melting happened. Okay, so during this time, melting, heat is absorbed by the test tube, and the change in state is happening again. We're going from a solid to a liquid. So that means the particles gain energy and now they're freer to move. we call this energy phase also because we have a change in phase. Okay, the last segment over here is the water, which is a liquid, is warming. This would be energy thermal again because we have a change in temperature and means energy is increasing. Energy kinetic was increasing. Okay, now you were to answer the questions 1 through 6, and I will have those uploaded so you can check those out to see how they compared for you. So we didn't really look at this segment of the graph, but we looked at the rest of it. What was happening during those times?